All right. In other leaks, if you will, out of the Epic court, did you guys see Samus Aran was part of the internal documents where Epic
Yeah,
was trying to?
and so was Snake Plissken, and so was Lady Gaga. Don't put too much stock into that.
I'm just saying my idea from 5 months ago was not so crazy.
It
When
still sucks.
I would love to see Samus in Fortnite personally.
We had a very large debate on the Spawncast about this last night,
Oh, the
and
other
I was like
guys?
the only one who was like, I think it's stupid for Samus to be in there. Everyone was like, man, God. I was like, nobody's gonna fucking buy Metroid Prime 4 because Samus is in Fortnite. Nobody. I'm sorry. You can't prove me otherwise. Can't prove me otherwise. Did Street Fighter see a huge boost of sales when Ryu and Chun-Li were in there? God of War see a big boost of sales when Kratos was put in there? Halo? No, but it's safe to assume no. Because I feel like if we did know, we would have heard about it. You hear about good things. You notice that from video game companies, you tend not to hear about bad things.
Yeah.
Unless it was something crazy, like they released a special edition, or you bought it from Target and you get the free Samus Fortnite skin or something like that. Then I could see it moving, or the two selling better in tandem. But outside of that.
I understand your point of view, Sean. I get what you're saying, that Samus has a brand issue where people just don't know who she is. And it's been an issue for a long time.
No, that's pish posh.
And people don't buy Metroid. We know that people don't
that's the problem. And nothing, okay, if I told you that Samus was a part, hold on, talk for like 10 seconds while I add something up real quick.
I'm going to go as to what Treon's saying. It's about making our character more well-known, and that's what I want to jump into. Okay. But I'm going to let you do whatever you want to say about it, not selling.
Well, I'm almost done.
Okay, I still got to talk. Well, I love Greg's beard. There, I said it.
Thank you.
Almost done.
Pollo.
If I told you that Samus was involved in a franchise that sold over 64 million copies, over 64 million people
it's Rocket League.
have played this franchise, do you think that would be enough brand awareness to have a fucking Metroid game actually break 3 million sold? Because that's never happened.
What kind of audience was this?
The core Nintendo fans. Super Smash Brothers,
Super Smash Brothers
has been a part of since the Nintendo fucking 64, has sold 64 million copies worldwide.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck for some reason, and it's always going to be that way.
She's not a fun character in Smash Brothers. There,
she is.
I've never heard that argument, and that's a pretty good one, I have to say, because I've always attributed like the Fire Emblem love to have started out as Smash Brothers. Like, I think Smash Brothers directly impacted the success of Fire Emblem in the West.
Sure. But, I mean, okay, but how much success? Fuck you. Let's pull up Fire Emblem. I mean, yes, it helped, but Fire Emblem was a series that sold like dickhole in the United States, in the West,
right
before that.
Okay.
So Metroid sold better. You know what I'm saying? Take away N64 Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Metroid sold better on the GameCube. Have you ever looked at Metroid numbers?
Yeah, they're depressing to look
at. Here we go.
They're very depressing.
You don't even have numbers. The first time we got a number for Fire Emblem was Awakening on the 3DS. Okay, that's how dog shit the series sold. Oh wait, hold on, no. Binding. Okay, here we go. I lied. We got Fire Emblem, The Binding Blade, which was the first title on the Game Boy Advance. Guess how many that sold?
Fire Emblem
350K.
That was out west?
Yes. That was on the Game Boy Advance. The system that sold over 80 million units.
Right. Well, that was a new IP for the West audience at the time.
Three Houses hasn't even broke 3 mil, by the way.
Really? I thought it did better than that. I have not been paying attention to Fire Emblem because I didn't drink that Kool-Aid yet.
I don't know. I might be wrong on that. Hold on. Let me say.
There was a lot of hype for a 3
million. But why do you think that is, though? Like, why do you think that...
It's a niche franchise.
I feel like they've never really
Why
gone
Samus
in.
is low?
Go,
You're asking?
yeah, I feel like they've never really gone into say like this is Samus. This is her backstory. This is who she is as a person. It's always just been you're in the action. Go.
She never, the IP never evolved with Nintendo's vision. Like I think it evolved when the GameCube, when Metroid Prime came, that was an evolution of the series, and I think that's when it peaked.
True.
And it was the perfect timing because that's when first-person shooters were on the rise, and this was Nintendo's answer to that.
But then also it was the GameCube.
Well, there was a lot of reasons, but I don't think Nintendo embraced it enough what the potential of Metroid Prime could have been. Sean talks a lot about, I think it's Hunters on the 3DS that was like the best multiplayer Metroid.
DS.
Was the best Metroid Prime multiplayer game you could do. Why wasn't there a console Metroid Prime game that could compete in the days of Halo when everybody on their Xboxes were playing multiplayer first-person shooters? Nintendo never embraced that. And then pretty much all...
Well, you know why? I can tell you why. Because Japan doesn't give a fuck about Metroid. The only Metroid game that ever broke $1 million in Japan, take a guess. Which one was it?
$1 million
on the Famicom.
Right. That's another factor. But pretty much after Metroid Prime, 2 and 3 sold less and less. And then Nintendo never, I think, found a reason to reinvent it because they never reinvented Metroid 4. So they tried Federation Force. That was another attempt at reinvention, making it more mainstream, which flopped. Then they brought back 3, like the old school Metroid, which weak reception. For some reason, people are just not and it's weird because right now Metroidvanias, indie Metroidvanias sell very well. Like there's a market for Metroidvanias.
To that point, if you were to do a 2D Metroid game, Metroidvania style, how are you going to charge $60 when Hollow Knight's $20?
Yeah, you can't.
They're in a kind of fucked situation, I feel, with this.
But I think the Metroid IP, you could easily get it at
it's not valuable.
I think you could get it at a $30-$40 game. You tell me a 2D Metroidvania Metroid game at $40.
Nintendo's not going to do that.
Not when they can make more profits off a $60 game. Probably not. Like if you're looking at it as a business case.
If the $60 game doesn't sell, then what's the point of eating?
You would have to hope that the sales continue to be great because everything seems to sell on the Switch.
But why do you
that's what you're banking it on?
So why do you think like this is really like realistic?
18 million is what the Metroid games have sold. 18 million since 1986.
Yeah, R2 makes a good point about Metroidvanias. He's like, well, that's why they're putting their money behind Silksong, because it's a better business case for them to just be like, hey, bring Hollow Knight here as a timed exclusive instead of making a Metroid game. All of this, very realistic point of view of the IP, but why do you think they would even bother then with a Metroid Prime 4 knowing all of this? Is it kind of the last Hail Mary?
Well, why did they give it to Bandai Namco instead of Retro Studios to start out with?
Well, I don't know, but that didn't go so well.
I mean, there's something about Metroid. Metroid fans are the fucking loudest people in the room, and when you tell them to shut the fuck up, they're like, because they'll get smacked. Like, I don't understand it. Motherfuckers, they don't put their money where their mouths is.
I think it's another issue that Metroid, and I'm kind of evaluating this thought as I'm saying it out loud. Nintendo has always been about gameplay first and not necessarily narrative. And I feel Metroid is their most narrative heavy, like it can be the most narrative heavy game. But like when you look at all their narrative, like they don't know what to do with Star Fox. It's always the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
Mario, Donkey Kong, you don't need a story there. You just need a skeleton to move your character to the right. With Metroid, the theme is always the same thing. You're always re-encountering the same villain. It's always the same vibes. It's essentially, if we're going to simplify it, the same story over and over again. Like they do not know how to tell it. Even Zelda, which is a fairly good story, is the same story over and over again.
Yeah, but at the same time, so is Halo, and up until
I don't know
the most recent
to comment.
I would just like to point out that your god game that everyone worships, Super Metroid, sold 1.42 million on the Super Nintendo. Do you know what Star Fox on the Super Nintendo sold?
No. No idea.
3 mil.
Wow. I mean, the marketing behind Star Fox was very different with the whole VFX.
No, this is Metroid. This is the biggest game ever. It's the greatest game. Motherfuckers do not put their money where their mouth. Wait, what number did I give you for Metroid?
1.5 or something.
1.42. Okay, it's one because because Metroid 2 Samus Returns actually sold better on the Game Boy than the Super Nintendo game.
The thing is, I don't think they've found the key that gives them the confidence to build out the IP, because we've seen when Nintendo wants to build an IP, they can. We've seen it with Animal Crossing, which was not that great of a selling franchise that has morphed into this enormous IP. We've seen Fire Emblem, enter the market here in the West 20 years ago, which has blown up to, can we get a confirmation on Three Houses and how much that sold? I feel either way, Fire Emblem is now an established IP here, although somewhat niche. Splatoon, which is an IP that's only 5 years old, is now in its third entry and constantly growing. I feel if Metroid can find, if Nintendo can find something that they believe in with Metroid, they're going to put the resources behind it to develop.
Well, I feel like
that
all
IP.
these other games have identities that are, maybe they are a little bit more niche, but they are fleshed out to they can say like, okay, this is the direction we're going to go in, when they're still unsure of themselves what the identity of Metroid is now. And it's like they've created the genre, or
A
3 mil. It barely broke 3 mil,
Oh, that's unfortunate.
making it the best-selling Fire Emblem game.
So maybe Metroid Prime 4 is a test of a new idea, because I don't think they've ever went hard with the multiplayer aspect of Metroid. And I think there could be something there.
No, and then last night everyone was like, they don't need a fucking multiplayer. It's great single player. Okay. Release a fucking game, a first-person shooter, adventure, whatever the fuck you want to call it, without an online multiplayer going, well, Bioshock Infinite, yeah, okay. Bioshock was on a high. People liked the Bioshock games. And also, that was a decade ago. Shit's kind of changed, but okay.
So here's the thing that I think solves the problem with the Metroid that you're saying. How do you make a Metroid game at $60? This works specifically with Metroid Prime. If you can make the single player campaign feel like it's $40, the multiplayer you tie it to the Nintendo Switch Online, boom, you just got like Nintendo is now making money on people playing multiplayer.
Yeah, tie it to this flimsy thing.
They have to make that a little bit more robust.
This piece of baloney.
Idealistically speaking,
that cost me $20 a year.
Well, maybe it'll go up to $30 so that you can get the exclusive Captain Adam skin. Is that her captain? I forget. Or Ridley skin. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like everything about the franchise like is a part of Nintendo except the actual game. Like with the levels that you have in Super Smash Brothers, the characters in Super Smash Brothers, like that's more, or adding Ridley, that's more enticing than having an actual Metroid game that sells well and does something completely different to, like you said, evolve the franchise. They're at a stalemate.
Well, the fact that they've given it to Retro, their Western studio, the fact that, as Sean pointed out, it doesn't sell in Japan, like maybe they can fine tune some kind of gameplay and an IP, like with this IP, that it can sell well in the West and just ride from there. Anyways, that was some good Metroid talk.
Metroid Prime Hunters came out. You had the Prime Hunters. That was the demo that was packaged in with the original DS. So that way it sold you on the system. That's what, because I remember my buddy got a DS from his girlfriend. We were in college at the time, community college, of course. And he got a DS, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And he was like, nah, it's really cool. I was like, nah, it's kind of lame, kind of gimmicky. And then he popped in the Metroid Prime Hunters demo, and I was like, nah, that's kind of neat. And then Samus was on the bottom screen, like crouched, and then she stood up, and it was stretched across both screens, and I was like, I kind of need this. And so I remember, and then we played the demo, and I was like, holy fuck, this is the coolest thing in the world. And I called around to all the places, and nobody had it. And then one morning, like the next day, I called a Sam Goody that was like a half hour away.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long ass time.
Yeah, I called the Sam Goody, and they were like, we have two. I was like, all right, I'm in class right now, but I'm coming. And like, I just got up and left class, and they're like, where are you going? I was like, emergency. And I drove and got it, and then I came back, and I just literally, they had like this eating hall where you could smoke cigarettes, and I just sat there the whole day and just smoked. I didn't go to any of my classes, just sat there and smoked cigarettes and played Super Mario 64 and the Metroid demo.
I can't believe when I first met you, I thought you were a college graduate with a journalist degree.
No, fake it till you make it.
Well, you faked it pretty well. There's another. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, well, maybe that is the problem. You know, the marketing behind it just doesn't exist anymore. Other than their,
well, I mean, even that game didn't sell. That game only sold like 1.3 mil on the DS, which is a higher tier for a Metroid game. But
at least there was something enticing about it, other than like, okay, here it is, play it.
And
you know,
watch.
IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, which is the same score that Jason gave Kickbeat on the Wii U.
Oh my god, I will beat the shit out of you. So
prove it. I don't know. Between you and Sean, I think Sean would win.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd kick his
no weapons. No weapons.
Nobody.
That's more in my favor. I was gonna give you like a gun or some brass knucks or something.
How about katana, like wooden katanas, swords?
Jesus.
Canadians are allergic to guns.
We are. You know what's going to happen with the Metroid Prime IP or Metroid IP? 4 is going to come out as the Switch is like going through an identity change or like moving to the new. And it's going to be considered like the last first party IP on the Switch, and it's going to get forgotten about. And it's just going to flop again. The way things are lining up.
They had a standee for Metroid Prime Hunters because I remember I was working at GameStop when it came out, maybe, and I took it home with me. And it was huge. It was like this big. And it was just in our living room. Like you'd walk into my little apartment and there was a staring at you. Yeah, it was Samus.
Hot.
What'd you do to her? Where'd she go?
I threw it away when I moved.
So sad. I had a stormtrooper that I kept around the house.
I had so many fucking standees. It was always because it was always, you know, it was always just, you know, first come, first serve on shit like that.